This episode is sponsored by Smart Travel, a new podcast from NerdWallet. You know that one friend who always finds the best travel deals, picks the right cards, and somehow ends up in first class for the price of coach? How do they do that? Well, Smart Travel is like that friend, but in podcast form. They cover all things travel finance, like which travel cards earn their keep and which are just heavy, shiny metal, and planning group trips that won't ruin your budget or your friendships. So travel smarter and spend less. That's the key with help from NerdWallet. Follow Smart Travel wherever you get your podcasts. Armchair Explorer is a part of the Voyescape podcast network. Check out all of their shows from around the world at voyescape.com. What's your feeling about sharks, Jason?
No. I like sharks. Obviously, bad rap. But you're like more likely
bad
to be
rap.
You're like more likely
you mean
to be
like mumble rap? Like what are you talking about?
They get a bad reputation.
Oh, you're not talking about like any rap that wasn't produced in the 1990s.
No, or the raps that were in the Shark Tales movie. No, none of those things with Will Smith.
Well,
no,
the rap in the Shark Tales movie was actually
a decent one.
Okay,
I just mean that like you're more likely to be killed by a falling toilet from the sky than a shark.
Is that true?
It is statistically true.
Wait a minute. How many people are killed every year from a falling
More
toilet?
than sharks.
That's gotta not be true. That's gotta not be true. How does a toilet fall from the sky?
Airplanes. They all have a toilet on them.
You've got to be kidding me. Airplanes are regularly
it's a real stat.
Like ejecting toilets and no one hears about this?
I don't think on purpose.
No. But like you press flush and suddenly you're like clinging onto the walls and it's like
that's a great
snakes
image.
on a plane.
Where were you going with this though?
So basically I was going with a story about sharks that I have in a place called Providencia in Colombia, which is one of the most amazing places I've been to. It's like this island. It's in the Caribbean, but it's nothing like the Caribbean. It's the Caribbean before the Caribbean became a tourist destination. And I was terrified of sharks. That's why I asked you. I was really terrified. I grew up in the generation that grew up with Jaws, right? And so sing that music. Go on. Charles, you got anything? That's what I'm talking about. I grew up listening to that music. Yeah, exactly. And it was so bad that I could be like swimming in a pool, and this could be like a pool somewhere like lovely.
Yeah, you're like, there's a 30-foot great white shark in this pool.
And I would like masochistically hum that music in my head, and that would be like, there's a shark in that pool. Yeah. So anyway, I was terrified of. All right, Charles, I'm scaring myself now. Thank you. And terrified of it. Anyway, I went to this island. And this guy's like, I'm going to teach you. I'm going to take you out. I'm going to teach you how to go spearfishing. And so shows me how to use the spearfish. It's like this traditional thing where it's like almost like a bow and arrow, but it's like more of like a crossbow, I guess. And you kind of, pull it back and shoot the spear and all that. And we're snorkeling around. We're not diving. We're snorkeling. And Providence is amazing, by the way. It's got like this incredible barrier reef, incredible marine life. And like, first of all, I hit the shot of all shots.
Really?
Yeah.
You Kobe'd like a shark with a spear?
I nailed this like grouper from
oh, good.
Like 50 feet away.
Wait, our grouper's like really big. Are we talking about the largest target imaginable here?
No. But obviously, being me, I felt really bad about it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Aaron is a vegetarian, but kind of.
But back then I wasn't.
Okay.
And so we ate the grouper.
You were like maximum.
Not that it made any difference to how the grouper felt about being shot.
But I feel really bad about it.
Anyway, the grouper gets shot. I pull back the crossbow bolt or whatever. And the guy swims over to me. And by the way, right now we're miles from the boat. And, he's like, great shot. Okay, there's sharks coming now. Swim as fast as you can.
Who brought the grouper? Did you bring it with you? Or did you just shoot it?
This isn't some like
You just shot it for fun?
We were spearfishing for food.
Yeah, so you brought it with you,
right? We were stranded on an island, Jason. Anyway, enough of your judgment. Should we go on the show?
Please.
Let's do it. All All right, guys, welcome to Pathways May. Can you believe it's May already, mate?
Woo! No, I cannot.
It's crazy, isn't it? How quick it goes. Finally, we're back to spring and my favorite
It's
month
incredible.
of all time.
Yeah, it's like you paid rent, now let's just do it again. Here we go.
Summer's up, hiking, camping, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, welcome to Pathways. I'm Aaron Millar. I'm your host. This is Armchair Explorer, by the way. If you tuned in randomly, now
welcome.
you know. I'm here with my lead producer, Jason Paton. How you doing, mate?
I am doing great, and we're not alone today either.
Charles, Jason Paton doesn't get air horns.
Those horns, though, yeah.
Yeah. So we got a good episode coming up today, and one of the reasons I was talking about sharks earlier on with Jason was one of the places we're going is the Great Barrier Reef.
Yes.
Have you ever scuba dived before?
I have, yeah.
Have you?
Actually, that's my only shark story, too.
Go on, then.
Okay, Cayman Islands.
Wait, how small is this shark?
Tiny. We're in a turtle sanctuary, which is like the closest equivalency I could draw is imagine a lazy river filled with turtles.
Yep.
And at one little spot of the lazy river, there's like a glass wall, and there's another tank on the other side. And on the other side is some type of shark.
But you have not scuba dived with sharks.
No. But even
you've been to an aquarium.
Swam in the aquarium through the glass wall. I was terrified. I couldn't even get up close to the wall. And I think there was like a magnification effect going on through the glass and everything. It could have been about like this big for all I know, but
Jason's holding up the length of a
love sharks.
Love shark.
But
anyway,
definitely worried.
The reason why I talked about sharks and the reason why we're covering that now is because we're going to the Great Barrier Reef, which is somewhere that I've always wanted to go, obviously in Australia, up there in tropical North Queensland, Australia. If you were listening last week, we did an episode last week, actually. That was our kind of guide to the whole area. But today we are going down specifically into the Great Barrier Reef, and we're doing it in a really interesting way. It's called Dreamtime dives. You know the Dreamtime?
No.
And so the Dreamtime, I'm going to get into it later, but that's an Aboriginal idea about how and when and where the world was formed. So it's like this idea of mixing Aboriginal
origin stories.
Yeah, it was like origin stories, but Aboriginal knowledge with modern day science. Anyway, really interesting. So that's going to be great. So where else are we going, Jason?
Well, also to the south of Australia for some adventures down there. And also in the United States, we have the first episode of a new series, which I think we might have like teased before on the show, but never done like the full in-depth introduction to. This is episode 2 of second season of our Hidden Trails of Oregon podcast. Yep. And this one is diving into the Confederated Tribes, the Umatilla, and their insane origin story for how things have all landed in today's current, where they are, why they're where they are, all of that stuff.
Do you know, it's one of the things that I love about travel writing and being able to do, like the privilege of being able to do what we get to do from time to time, which is like to go there, speak to people. And there's this story, which of course they know well. And there's some like local people that know it, okay? But actually there's a ton of local people that don't know it at all.
Yeah.
But like internationally, like even like within the United States, this isn't a well-known story.
Not at all. No, it's nothing that you were taught in school.
Nothing.
And that is that's basically the setup for the clip. Yeah. We'll give another setup for the clip when we get there. But like,
stop blowing
that's
the
basically
setup
what
for
else?
The clip.
What else are we doing today?
Well, anyway, there's a bunch of other stuff that's super, super cool. But guys, before we get into that, I just want to say, if you're enjoying this show, please subscribe to it, because that's the only way that we get to grow this show. And one of the things we're trying to do this year is really to grow the show, because that's the only way that we get to continue to do it.
Yeah. And leave a review and say something about Pathways if you like it. We put a lot of different shows out on this feed, so tell us what you like in particular.
And you can also Instagram us at Armchair Explorer Podcast, and I'd love to hang out and hear more about it. But let's get on to our first clip of today.
Yeah, where are we going?
And we're going to go to Victoria. This is a place we went to last month, and this is kind of the follow-up to that. Last month we went whale watching, because Victoria is in British Columbia, which is on the western coast of Canada, if you don't know. It's absolutely... British Columbia is one of the best places I've ever been to. I went Jeep camping.
Jamping.
Yeah. Jamping.
Nice.
I like it. It's like glamping, but it's with a Jeep.
But just jamp, yeah.
And but we had a tent on the top of the Jeep, and we just like drove off into the middle of nowhere, and then you just camp, you'd fold out the tent. And I actually have a great bear story about that, funnily enough. I'll get to that later. But for now, here is a clip about Victoria, the city of Victoria in British Columbia. And this is the mermaid of the Pacific.
The first thing is just the color of the kelp forest. It's this impossible to describe sort of aqua with glowing white coming out of it. I think there's a little write-up section in my book. I call it the color of God because it just feels like you're like in this weird spirit sort of energy. So the color's amazing. And then, yeah, it's like flying through a forest. Bull kelp can grow in excess of 30 meters high. And then it has, like I said, those blades float at the surface that form this canopy. So you'll be snorkeling outside of the kelp forest and it's all bright and the sun's coming down, and then you get into the kelp forest and underneath is all dark and spooky, and there's all kinds of different types of fish hiding out there, sometimes octopuses. There's the really cool kelp crabs that have evolved legs to be able to walk up and down the stipe of the bull kelp, which again, if you're comparing it to a land forest, would sort of look like the trunk of the tree. And you can, be snorkeling out and not see very many creatures. And then you get to the kelp forest and it's like a scene out of a National Geographic special. Like all the life is teeming there. And it's pretty amazing place to be. It's my favorite place.
Isn't that beautiful?
Oh, God, I dozed off almost for a second there, flowing through like a kelp forest. Bull kelp, also, great name.
So let me ask you something.
Please.
The color of God. Did you think that was going to be olive green seaweed?
No.
No? Because it was almost like there's this luminary light coming through, but it was also seaweed.
Well, that seems really related to like that concept of like God rays, like those, those piercing beams of light that come through other obstacles. That same mentality, essentially. It's like when it's piercing the veil. I think there's a metaphorical,
that plus seaweed.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So have you ever eaten seaweed?
Definitely, like on sushi, yeah.
Yeah, but like I'm talking about like wild and
like just bitten on a seaweed stalk while I'm underwater? No, I've never bitten on no.
Well, funnily enough.
Willingly?
Funny that you should ask. Not that you did ask.
Yeah.
So I have eaten seaweed like that, and I was a cynic. I was actually in a place called the Haida Gwaii, which is a collection of islands in British Columbia, but way more north than where we're talking about. And I'm on a kayaking trip. And funnily enough, going back to Wales, this was the first time I ever saw a whale in the wild.
Did you look it in the eye?
I did.
Oh,
Jason.
How many whale eyes have you looked at?
2.
And not the same whale. One eye, one whale, twice.
And anyway, we're sort of paddling around and we come up against all this kind of kelp, I guess. And our guide is like, "Are anyone hungry?" And I'm like, "Yeah," expecting like a bunch of trail mix or something.
Yeah.
But she basically like gets in there and rips out
just some raw
seaweed and starts gnawing on it. So, not to be, fussy, I started like ripping out and eating some myself. Yeah. That was pretty good.
I just think it needs a rebrand and I would be so sold. You call it seaweed? Call it like, I don't know, like sea flower.
Sea flower.
Something like that. And I'd be like, I could sell that for $20 organically at any farmer's market. Yeah. Boom. Problem solved.
Done.
Dry it out a little.
I'm glad we've had this conversation. I'll pass that information on. Thanks, Jason. Anyway, that's a really fun episode, guys. If you're looking to think about a place that you might go for your next adventure, it was so cool to find out about Victoria. And one of the things I really loved about this, by the way, mate, was they kind of talk about this as the place where the land and sea meet. And that sounds really poetic to me.
The conflux of those.
Yeah, it's like the confluence of these two great ecosystems. And it is totally wild. Like speaking to all these different people there, it is totally wild. But it just also seems like a cool city. So a good base for that. So definitely worth checking out that episode. But we got a bunch of episodes coming up today. And I thought we kind of teased this earlier, Jason. but I thought we might go to Oregon next. How do you feel about that?
Yes. So this is going to be the homecoming episode. It's the first episode of our new season of Hidden Trails of Oregon. And I think the best thing that we could do is play this first and chat about it afterwards. It is the introduction to a whole topic of the indigenous peoples of this area and trying to really get you into the mindset of their really unique individual story. So let's go to that clip now.
And Joseph still tries to avoid war. He's going to take his people to that Lapwai reservation. The army comes in, attacks another village who didn't want any conflict, and the Nez Perce War is on. Nez Perce War is 5 months, 1,200 miles. The Nez Perce cross and recross rivers, lead armies astray, goes through Yellowstone, which is a national park already at this time, capture tourists, and make it to 40 miles from Canada, where it's cold and it's October, it's snowing.
200 Nez Perce warriors, protecting hundreds more women and children, fought for 5 days against 520 US soldiers. Joseph later wrote, "We could have escaped from Bear Pole Mountain if we had left our wounded old women and children behind. We were unwilling to do this. We had never heard of a wounded Indian recovering while in the hands of white men."
And Joseph stops and says, "From where the sun now stands, I will fight no more forever." Joseph was never a war chief. He was a domestic chief and a diplomat. And his people were promised a return to Idaho. That didn't happen.
The story goes on into this whole series of trials and tribulations, but this is the story of an incredibly unique indigenous tribe in America and how they have slowly started to reclaim their homeland.
Yeah.
So it's a really special story. I feel really lucky and privileged that we got to go there and interview people on location for something like this. And yeah, that's just something that's so special.
I think like what's cool is like, you know, maybe people don't realize is like sometimes, a lot of times you go somewhere and you don't really know what the story is going to be, right? Like you go somewhere and you have an idea like, oh, I'd really love to meet this person. I'd really love to see this place. I think it might come together like this, but honestly, you don't really know. And this was one of those stories where we went there with just like as an open canvas, really, just to learn about the Native American history of the area. And it turned into 2 episodes.
Yeah.
And this is one of them. And yeah, it really blew me away that this is a story that people don't know, and I'm really proud to share that story.
Yeah, it's something you never would have learned in school. And then we're going to flip a switch, and in episode 2, we're going to explore the Pendleton Roundup, which is probably the rodeo of all rodeos to end all rodeos. And then episode 3, we go back and explore another story titled "We Will Never Fade," which is exploring a cultural institute in the area. It's an incredible new season.
So we're trying to show like different
coming.
perspectives, but at the time like show different attitudes too, because actually when you go there, the attitude isn't like just sadness and kind of a lament about the history.
No, it's about regrowth and reclamation.
And the way that those people have recaptured and regained their sovereignty and their power is like really amazing, and great job on the production. So from there, we are going to Australia.
Back to Australia.
Australia.
Can't get enough. Well, this is not the Great Barrier Reef, though. We are heading to South Australia, which has got to be the least populated and one of the more underground areas in Australia. This is episode 2. We're continuing our road trip that we started on the Limestone Coast. Now we're heading north past Kangaroo Island, although, spoiler tip, we're going to like loop back just north of Adelaide because it's all kind of worked into that region. But this clip that I'm so excited to share it's just the introduction section of a conversation that you had with a character that I can only call Lunch.
That's his name.
Well, his nickname, yeah.
Yeah, but that's what he goes by.
That's going to be the context of this one, is that we found out that when Aaron is faced with a dude with a nickname as cool as Lunch, he's desperate for his own. Roll it.
Well, I'm looking forward to digging into the Eyre Peninsula, but I've got to ask, and I'm sure you've been asked this so many times, it's probably really annoying, but where does the name Lunch come from?
How do I know that was going to come up first?
I'm sorry.
One of the beauties over here is that everyone has a nickname or 4. And all I can say is that you're going to have to ask my mate Lard, He's the one that gave it to me.
Your mate Brunch. Yeah. Well, I love that. And I feel like I need a nickname too. So Aaron, I feel like that's straight down the middle. I'm up against lunch and that sounds way more interesting. So you don't know me yet, but by the end of the interview, hopefully you'll be inspired to give me an Aussie nickname. How does that sound?
We'll start with A-Rod.
Yeah. Maybe you got a few ideas already, but we'll bleep those ones out. Yeah,
perfect.
So can't wait to explore your area, but why don't you kick things off with the first experience or place that we absolutely must do when we come to visit the Eyre Peninsula?
So within half an hour, I can have you face-to-face with koalas, and this is one of the absolute best native koala habitats in the country. As well as koalas, there's heaps of kangaroos and emus, and there's 160 different species of native birds here. So it's nature on steroids. It is absolutely tickety-boo just to be in there in the wild. So anything can happen.
Nature on steroids.
So first thing I want to say is tickety-boo.
Tickety-boo. We've made a point on this series in the South Australia. Well, we got to dig into the Australian slang as we did last episode. What does tickety-boo mean?
That's like all great. It's all perfect.
Oh, tickety-boo.
What does it sound like? What else could it mean?
No worries, mate.
Thanks, Charles.
That's excellent. Tickety-boo. What else could it mean?
I guess that, yeah. But outside of context, like tone would, if I was like, this is going to be your last tickety-boo.
No, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So that was great. Lunch was great. If you missed that, my joke was that the person that gave him his nickname was called Brunch.
Oh, yeah.
He missed that. So I'm just highlighting it. If you had to choose a meal that was your name, what would it be?
Oh,
apart from lunch.
Honey.
Honey's not a meal.
I'm a snack.
I'd be 11sies.
What about afternoon tea?
You'd be afternoon tea, would you?
No, I'd be a snack.
You'd be snack. Because they could have you at any time.
What about breakfast?
A little late on that one, but yeah. 11sies. Afternoon tea.
So let's stay in Australia. I haven't got a clip for this actually.
Yeah, where are you taking us?
We talked earlier about the Great Barrier Reef, and I'm going to drop something now. I wrote a book about wonders of the world. Excuse me.
Oh wait, I don't want to clap alone. There we go.
It's okay.
Oh, wow.
It's okay.
Full on whistles.
I actually just dropped that. I won't say it again. And of course, I had to, the best thing about writing that book was I got to choose. Yeah. Other than finishing it, was I got to choose what the 50 wonders were, and one of them, in terms of natural wonders, obviously was the Great Barrier Reef. So we haven't got a clip, but what I thought would be cool is I'm just going to read you a little bit from the chapter about the Great Barrier Reef.
Hit me.
And here it is. The Great Barrier Reef is the largest reef system in the world, covering an area of 135,000 square miles. It's bigger than the United Kingdom, Holland, and Switzerland combined, and it would reach from London to Moscow, making it the largest living structure in the world and the only one visible from outer space. It is undoubtedly one of the most incredible ecosystems on the planet, and it is ancient. Generation after generation of coral has grown on top of its predecessors, creating an enormous underwater wall of stone up to 40 miles long along Australia's northeastern shore. The thin layer of living coral on its tip is at least 6,000 years old, comprised of the largest collection of coral species on the planet, more than 400 separate hard and soft varieties, 1/3 of the world's total. But while most reefs alive today are estimated to be less than 10,000 years old, the Great Barrier Reef began forming 18 million years ago when megalodons still prowled the sea.
Oh man, who wrote that?
I don't know. I plagiarized him.
I didn't look that guy up. That was beautiful, man.
Oh, yeah. Well,
that was beautiful.
I don't know about that. Anyway, you always criticize your past work. But anyway, the episode that we're sharing this month is really, really unique. It's with a guy called Eric Fisher. I was really lucky to interview him. He's a marine biologist, and he's really involved with the science of the Great Barrier Reef, but also like how the story of the Great Barrier Reef is communicated. And to date, that story has been really dominated by Western science. But what he's trying to do is like merge with that the Aboriginal perspective, the Aboriginal history and knowledge of the Great Barrier Reef. So he calls it Dreamtime diving.
That's wild.
Yeah. Do you know what the Dreamtime is, by the way?
No.
So the Dreamtime, I mean, I don't want to put words into it that I'm, not qualified to put in there, but essentially the Dreamtime is this idea of a time before time. The Dreamtime, the time when things were kind of dreamt into creation, like this, that almost like pure thought could create the world. And that's how the Aboriginal people of Australia believe, broadly where the formation of the world comes from. And so Dreamtime diving is about combining that Western science, those Western scientific ideas that can be very, very precise, with this broader, indigenous wisdom that to date really hasn't had a lot of voice with the science.
Oh, I love that. And the combination of those things too, is so unique too. And even just staying in Australia, that's a topic we dive into in episode 1 of the South Australia series, specifically talking about Mount Gambier.
Yeah.
And their origin story, that there's this creation creature that sleeps at the bottom of the lake. And literally, no exaggeration, this lake changes color throughout the year, which is part of their creation story. And scientifically, no one really knows why.
Yeah.
It changes colors. And yes, there's theories about, it's plankton, it's phosphorescence, it's all these other things, but no one does know. And that little bit of mystery leaves so much room for imagination in it.
And a little bit of like taking the oral history of like indigenous people seriously, right?
Yeah.
Like I think that we don't take that seriously.
It's just as valid.
But there is a lot of evidence now, and he cites some of that, you got to listen to it, but there's a lot of evidence now where that, science, the scientific studies of places like the Great Barrier Reef and elsewhere only began like in the 1950s.
Yeah.
I'm not even talking 100 years back, but they can trace these oral traditions.
Oral
back
histories.
centuries.
Yeah.
And so if you actually like look at that and take it seriously and combine that data, then you come up with new methods and new formulas. But even like more importantly than that, like there's this idea of like what knowledge is valid.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like where we sit, a lot of times the only knowledge that is valid is this scientific knowledge. And no doubt scientific knowledge is valid. But I think you got to ask yourself, is it the only way of looking at the world that's valid? I mean, I guess that's what I would challenge people to listen to this episode and think about.
Yeah.
Listen to this episode, think about, like, most of it's really about this incredible natural wonder of the world and what it feels like to explore it. But then there's this little kernel of an idea. And think about that. Like, what are the different ways that we can appreciate, understand, and interpret the world? And is one more valid than the other? Or how can we incorporate lots of different views? So another cool thing that's coming up, and this is just kind of to talk about it. We don't have a clip for this yet, but we're sharing an episode of a podcast called Going Wild, which is produced by PBS. Obviously, you know them.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, super cool. Great, highly professional, good content. Anyway, I'm going to leave you to like dig into this and think about this, but it's about paleoanthropology. And what's that, Jason? This is like...
I'm going with dinosaur studies
Nope.
of people dinosaurs.
No, people.
That's people.
Yep.
Paleo is ancient, so
Yep.
ancient peoples.
Ancient peoples, exactly.
And how they live, cultures.
So like
yeah.
super ancient, like Neanderthal and beyond that. And it's trying to find pieces of, stuff in the environment, whether it's geology or other elements that kind of indicate things about the way that these people lived their life. And so really interesting and really important. And she talks about why this is important in terms of like knowing where we came from and knowing where we're going. And a lot of what she talks about actually is about how we study these ancient cave paintings and whatnot. And we think, wow, look at that civilization back there. But what you have to remember is our brain really hasn't evolved much different since then.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of applications to that, to like, why are we feeling anxious? Well, because our
Saber-toothed tigers existed.
Our brain has evolved to appreciate a certain amount of information, and we have about 1 million times of that. But what's really different and really cool about this episode is it's about going to war zones. So it's about going to places that haven't yet been researched because they've been too dangerous to research. So in this instance, she goes to Yemen and researches that and discovers a treasure chest of things that inform how we used to live, because no one's ever been there before. And if you think about Egypt and you think about those other places, people have been going there for 100 years. Well, there's places in the world that we've completely ignored, right at the cradle of civilization too, right? That are just waiting for those secrets to be uncovered. And this is what that episode's about.
You've reminded me, though, this is a topic that I'm hoping to bring up. I'm still doing a little bit of research about this because it's a story that I'm really interested in telling. It might become a future Armchair production someday, is ancient tourist sites, places that, like you said, people have been going to forever, but to the point where the relics and graffiti and just feet dug into the rock have become the tourist attraction because of thousands of year-old tourists.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's a topic that I'm hoping to dig into. We'll have a whole conversation about it in a future episode, but two entirely different angles on this, and both just so interesting.
I love that. And also another one on that is like, what were the tourist destinations back then that aren't the tourist destinations?
Some of them are shockingly the same. You know,
I bet
like
they are.
You know, you go to Egypt. Romans went to Egypt for tourism.
Of course they did, because the pyramids were already there.
Yes,
it was amazing.
You know, and like famously, like French cavalrymen shot off the nose of the Sphinx while there as tourists in the hundreds and hundreds of years ago. So the effects of tourism.
What happened?
Lots of things happened. That's one thing that happened. But the thousands of years of tourism, what that does to a place and what it affects today, versus like you talk Route 66 in America, and you're talking things that are decades old. No real tourist impact.
Do you know what, Jason? I've absolutely love that, mate. Let's do a whole discussion on that next Pathways.
That'll be the one.
Tune in. I love it.
For more
May's
stuff. No, June's.
We'll be in June.
This is May today. Yeah. June's Pathways. Ancient tourism.
Thank you. All right, so we only got one more to go.
What's our last one?
And this is a really cool story. This was one that was pitched in directly to the website. And by the way, guys,
send us your ideas.
Yeah, all the ideas, all the stories that we do are kind of directly pitched to us through our website, armchair-explorer.com. And
that's the dash, not the word dash.
That's the dash. But I think people can
Armchair literal dash.
I think we're going to assume some level of grammatical knowledge.
Perfect. Carry on.
And it's pitched to the website. And a lot of times there are people that have just done extraordinary things. I mean, you guys have listened to the show, hopefully. There are people that have done extraordinary things, but they're not people that are any different to you or I. So this story is ostensibly about a journey that this guy took, like riding his bike across this part of West Africa. And particularly, it then he made a documentary about it, and actually ended up winning a bunch of awards since we spoke to him. But and actually, like the crux of it, the main piece of it, is when he decides to like veer off the path that he thought he was going to take and go through this forest, which he thought had like a trail to it or whatever. Turns out it didn't, and it took him like 2 weeks and nearly killed him. But also like taught him this incredible stuff. Anyway, when he got back, like part of what we talked about was that he got tested and he realized that he was on the spectrum, right? He's autistic.
Yeah.
And he didn't really know that. And because he had been backpacking and traveling and all that sort of stuff. And he like yearned for that. He was doing a normal job, like super high functioning, but he was doing a normal job. And he'd like yearn for that feeling of like being backpacking and being out there. And something that happened when he was away again, in the difficulty of what he was attempting to do, that made his whole autism and being on the spectrum makes sense in a way. So anyway, this is the email that he sent me, and I'll read a bit of this and then you can listen to the episode. My mind is noisy, like a stoner with the munchies. It indiscriminately chews on any words or numbers it can feed itself. At dinner, I read the back of a ketchup bottle 3 times over, absorbing its nutritional content, memorizing its free phone number, and wondering how many lines of the barcode you'd have to change before it's scanned as something else. He goes on, he talks about some other things. I'm just paraphrasing this because we haven't got time for all of it and it's all brilliant. But he goes on and he says, there is a place where the noise subsides, where my mind exhales. Out in the open, my mind is released from the noise. It sways with the trees and flows with the rivers. It blows over snow-tipped mountaintops and down into wide sunlit valleys, expanding to fill its surroundings. The vistas are bigger, but there's less to know. Alone and in the wild, I am beautifully weird and joyously free. It's not that my rituals and quirks fit in better. They simply exist unobserved. The road cares not, and the sun shines equally on all. In nature, I find my reprieve. Alone, I find myself.
Wow.
Can I just say, greatest pitch we've ever had, by the way.
Yeah. Beautifully written. So evocative.
I know.
Wow.
I know. What a cool guy, right?
Wow.
Yeah. So, like, if that touched you...
Seriously, unironic applause on that one.
Yeah.
Thank you, Charles. Good God.
So if that touched you like it touched me and Jason and Charles here at the studio, and why we decided to make this full story about this guy, listen to it. It's coming out at the end of May. And I feel like there's sometimes you feel a real responsibility to tell that story.
Yeah, 100%.
And this is one of those where I feel like this is a story I need to tell well. And so I'm really working hard on it. So let's finish up, and what we're going to do is he made a documentary about this. It's won some film awards, and it's just starting to come out now, kind of under the radar, so any support I'm sure will be gratefully received. We're going to play the trailer from this now, and this is kind of going to fade out our show because you can't really go on
can't
from
follow
that.
this. Here we go.
I was 2 months into my 3-month cycle alone from Senegal to Liberia.
Hello.
Whilst I'd enjoyed elements of being on the road once more, something was missing. I found myself irresistibly drawn to the wilderness.
I stocked up. I've got 6 baguettes, 50 biscuits.
I could see a dirt track that weaved right through the centre of the rainforest, except for a short section where the track disappeared. I decided that I would take the dirt track as far as I could and attempt to bridge that gap in the road. But I soon learned the way forward would not be as simple as I'd hoped. I managed just 8 kilometres each day.
This is way tougher than I thought it would be.
I often wondered if I was still on the route of the old road or just lost, heading into the jungle abyss.
It's just taking me about 45, 50 minutes to go about 200 meters. Is this even the same way? Hello? Disappeared with my handlebar bag with all my cash in it.
Broken equipment, cut limbs, lack of water.
What am I doing?
A huge part of me wants to sit down and wait for a ride to get me out of here. But I know that I can't. To give up would break me. No tarmac, no electricity, no phone signal.
I'm trying to keep my morale up because this is pretty tough now.
Heading deeper into the jungle was my only option.
I'm excited for everything, but that is a special story. Anyway, it's time for the credits, Jason.
All right, what are we doing
Do you have
this
any
time?
ideas?
I couldn't even remotely guess.
So I have an
We've
idea.
done a lot of genres. What do you got?
I have an idea.
All right.
My idea is that we play rock, paper, scissors,
All right.
and the loser... Wait a minute, no. We play rock, paper, scissors,
Okay.
and the winner gets to choose the song
Oh, I love
that
this
the
idea.
loser
All right,
does
here we
in
go.
the style.
Here we go.
Wait a minute, do you have one in mind? Because I don't.
I already
actually.
do.
Oh, God, I don't.
Absolutely,
Wait,
I do.
did you come in prepared?
I just know what style I'd love to hear you do.
Oh, God, I don't even know. I've suggested it and I don't have a funny enough style.
That's because you know deep down you're going to lose.
All right. Ready?
Yeah.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Oh,
That's
I've
one.
gone scissors.
Wait,
He's
two-
gone paper.
2 out of 3. 2 out of 3.
Okay. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Oh, scissors, rape, scissors, shoot. Oh, he's been done with
But
the
he doesn't
triple
have an
scissors.
idea.
You fool. Everyone knows the triple scissors.
All right, what
move.
am I doing?
Well, spring's in the air. The friskiness is flowing.
I'm feeling frisky.
And there's only one soundtrack to that.
All right, what's that?
It's the Beach Boys.
The Beach Boys? All right. Armchair Productions
There you go.
is Charles Tyree and Jason Paton and Aaron Millar. A little bit. Ooh. Find out more at Armchair-Productions. Productions, baby. We've got podcasts for you.
Please remember to shout out our Instagram.
Bum, ba-da-dum. All right, that's got to be enough, right? Thank you, guys. We'll see you next time.
All right. See you next time.
Quick question. Do you want travel tips from people who have actually been there?
Our show is co-hosted by Tim Johnson, an award-winning travel journalist who's been to more than 145 countries around the world. And I'm David Brody, the other co-host who's been travel podcasting for 20 years while traveling to 50-plus countries around the world.
In about 10 or 20 minutes per show, we break down a destination with the kind of insight you usually only get from long guidebooks or hours of research.
So if you want expert advice, zero fluff, and travel inspiration that you can actually use, search for Travel in 10 wherever you listen to podcasts, or you can also find us at voyescape.com.
Hi, I'm Pauline Fromer, host of the Fromers Travel Podcast. We post new episodes weekly, detailing the kinds of money-saving tips and cultural insights that will make your trips richer without making you significantly poorer. We do so by interviewing real travel experts like TV host Samantha Brown, Fromers authors from around the globe, and such public figures as Free Solo's Alex Honnold. It's a fun travel party. I hope you can join us.